Hi, we're Laura and Lewis, and this is Found Out, brought to you by the Merrittocracy. Found Out is our brand new podcast where we're going to be focusing on social justice topics, everything that's going on in social justice and what it means to you. We're going to be looking at everything from prisons to pornography to money to sport. So we think it's going to be really interesting. So definitely stick around. And for an extra special bit of fun, we're going to be talking a bit about what it's like to found a business and what it's like to work together as husband and wife who are also business partners. Mm-hmm. SOS.
Yes, indeed.
And I'm sure much will come up there.
So in today's episode, we're going to give you the inside track of the Merrittocracy, how it sort of came to be. It's been a pretty crazy ride for 5 or 6 years to get us to this point. So we'll be talking about that and letting you know how that's been for us. But before we begin, we realise most of you probably don't know who we are.
Yeah, so the Merrittocracy, we're a social justice agency. And we like to say that we're the first one of those. We haven't been able to find any others, certainly not in the UK. So if anybody else knows of anyone, please let us know. I don't know what we're going to do about that, but we like to say that we're the first.
We'll carry on until that point.
Yeah. And what does a social justice agency mean? That's the question we get asked all the time. So first of all, social justice, that for us is changing systems to prevent harm and improve services for everybody, regardless of health, wealth, status, power, etc. And we have some really specialist focus areas within that. We spend a lot of our time working on prevention of violence against women and girls, on prison rehabilitation and education, on things like modern slavery, human trafficking. So all of those areas fall under the social justice umbrella. And why an agency? Well, we really owned and resonated with the word agency, I think. That's right, Lou, isn't it, when we were first setting up?
Yeah.
Over and above things like consultancy or other types of organisations that you often see in our sector and you often see around government and social justice. And the reason for that was that, we operate with an agency model. So we bring in the best teams for projects as and when we need them, which is really exciting because it means that we get the best teams depending on what the brief is rather than just the standard team that we might use for everything, even if they're not quite right. And at the same time, we have taken a lot of inspiration and experience from the creative agency world. So agencies are really common across design and events. And in starting the Merrittocracy, we really wanted that world and the benefits that come from a creative agency to be accessible and available and there and present in responding to social justice and those really big challenges, because we see and believe that when you change how somebody thinks and how they feel, you change how they behave. And that's absolutely critical when we're talking about some of the toughest problems that we face as a society. So that was really critical for us. And the final reason, I think, for being a social justice agency and the work that we do as the Merrittocracy is we do a lot of work alongside our partners and clients. We aren't in the business of advice. Of course, we do advise, but we really make sure that we're getting alongside and we're delivering work because we just love getting stuff done. So that's us.
Yeah, bang on. I think just to reiterate that, the power of those creative campaigns that we're merging into this space, which is definitely for the first time. It's only half the battle to change the law and legislation. Many people don't really understand how and when that happens, and it's not in everybody's sort of focus. But when you look at the sort of creative agencies and the big brands of the world, they're so good at those campaigns that make you feel something, as you said. So we want to pair both camps. Obviously, the legislation change is really important, but also those really strong narratives, as you said. So I think that'll be a really good duo, really good blend.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been going for a few months now. We launched officially in October. So thank you to anyone listening who joined us at our launch event. I'm sure there'll be a few of you. We're very grateful. And since then, we've already been working on designing new services for victims of modern slavery. We've been working on how the workplace can do more and work harder to prevent violence against women and girls. We've been working on new and innovative ways in which to improve reading and literacy in prisons, where currently close to half of prisoners can't read. So that's absolutely critical. And we've got even more up our sleeve and in the pipeline for the next few months and years. So it's just a little flavour of some of the things we've been doing so far.
Yeah, I think that stat, just again to repeat something you've said, that almost half of prisoners can't read, is one of the most shocking in society. I think it just gives such depth to such feeling to those people that are in prison. You know, half of them are illiterate, and how can that be the best place to start? You know, for rehabilitation. But yeah, that always really, really shocks me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, where can you go if you can't read? It's really, really difficult. So really proud of that work. But yeah, beyond that, so much happening, which we're really proud of, and hopefully will come up across lots of these episodes.
Yes, almost certainly. So I think to start, there is only one place to start in terms of how we got here, in terms of our story. And that is from one man. I'm going to hold it up for people that are watching on YouTube. Here he is, Jack David Merritt, handsome bastard. So we are named after him. That name might resonate with people that don't know us personally anyway. And we'll get into that as we sort of work through this. But we're going to start with how we met. So sort of day one of how we met,
yeah,
which is one of my favourite stories. It was one of my favourite stories before what happened. And it still is. So it was at Cambridge University. So picture the scene. It was October, not a cloud in the sky, beautiful sort of autumn morning. And I got up. It was first day of the course. I was really nervous, excited, couldn't believe I was at Cambridge. Walked to the Criminology Institute. It was a master's in criminology that we were all doing. So the Criminology Institute, called the Radzinovich Institute. And yeah, beautiful modern building. And I walked through the double doors and I saw this guy with slick back hair, 2 little hoop earrings, wearing black and white, shiny Doc Martens. And I was like...
a lot shinier than mine are today, I think.
Yeah, yours are a bit dirty. They were cleaner than that. And he just always looked so sharp. But anyway, I walked in, I saw this guy and I was like, not who I was expecting as a Cambridge student. I was expecting some like red corduroy, or some like...
so many stereotypes, really.
Some like gilet, I don't know. I was just not what I was expecting. I was like, this guy is way too cool to be a Cambridge student, surely. And I sat down.
Yeah.
I sat down opposite him. And he said, "You all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, you all right, mate?" And he was like, "Yeah. I'm really hungover." First thing he ever said to me. And I was like sort of giggling. I was like, that's a funny intro. I was like, yeah, fair play. He was like, yeah, sorry, it was my birthday yesterday. I was like, that makes sense. And I was like, well, happy birthday. He's like, cheers. And he was like, what's your name? And I said, Lewis. And he started laughing. And I was like, this guy. I was like, and he went, oh, sorry, like caught himself laughing. And I was like, why was that funny? And he was like, oh, my 2 best mates are called Lewis. And that's who I was with yesterday, amongst others. And I was like, oh, right. I was like, yeah, I guess that is, reflecting back, it is kind of funny if your 2 best mates are called Lewis and the first person you meet is called Lewis. But anyway, we had our, that morning, we had our library induction, and the guy that ran the library, I don't know if you remember him, really sassy guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, amazing.
I can't remember his name. Do you remember his name?
No, we need to look that up.
Yeah, we'll look it up. Sorry, we'll give you a shout out next episode.
Yeah, because you're our legend. Great librarian.
Yeah, great librarian, but really sassy guy. And we walked into the library and me and Jack are still chatting, already getting on like house on fire, chatting about music and just bits and bobs. And he calls out, he's like, right, we're going to start with the register. This is the librarian, because this is your library induction. It was 8:30 or something, ridiculously early. And he was like, went round, called the name, said Lewis Taylor. Yeah, put my hand up. And he's like, right, is anyone name I didn't read out there? And Jack, who stood next to me, puts his hand up. He's hanging out of his ass. He puts his hand up. He's like, yeah, you didn't read my name. And he was like, what's your name? He said, Jack Merritt. And he looked through went through a few pages. He went, oh, Mr. Merritt, your library induction is actually tomorrow morning. And honestly,
and if you knew Jack wasn't good in the mornings anyway, let alone
hungover at 8:30, the eye roll of that man, and he just spun on his heels and marched out of the library. And I was absolutely creasing. I was giggling my ass off, and I was like, we are going to be friends. And yeah, so that was the initial intro. And then that afternoon, we together meet you, don't we?
Yeah. So we're all kicking off our master's degree at Cambridge, as you said. And the first few minutes. I think it's one of the most horrible things that anyone can ever do to anyone is to enforce a meet and greet.
You don't like these, do you?
I don't like a meet and greet. I just, why? If you're going to meet them, get on with them, you're going to do it anyway, you know? So yeah, enforced meet and greet. So I'd already kind of had to really summon a lot of like depths of courage to get to this meet and greet. And then when I turned up, I was kind of thinking, you know, a little bit of context. I'd already been at Cambridge for a few years, so I felt like I've got a lot of friends already, which, you know, and I want to keep those friends. So I didn't feel like I was in the mood to meet new people.
Thought you had enough friends.
Thought I had enough friends, you know.
Right, maxed out.
Maxed out. maxed out the roster.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I thought, you know, and then got sort of in a conversation with a few people, and I thought, oh, they had some, I guess maybe just the more left unsaid here, the better, but just some choice views.
They were pretty annoying, let's just say it. I mean, they were interrupting lecturers, like, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, but my immediate moment was I was, chatting with them. So I thought, actually, I need to make a beeline out of here. So, which is what I did. And yeah, had that, walked over to you and Jack, who were sat on a table together, and you had a free seat next to you.
Yes. So from how I remember this is a key point to my life, really, and then where it is now. So I told this story at our wedding as well, but basically me and Jack are just chatting away. I'm just like, right, this is not what I expected. This guy's really cool. I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. He did his undergrad in Manchester, I'd learnt by that point. I was like, right, this makes more sense. Postgrad in Cambridge. Learnt he's from Cambridge, but, you know, did the last few years in Manchester. Laura rocks over, and I think she said it like this: "Excuse me, sir, is that seat free?" But apparently she did just say...
Obviously, I didn't say that.
That's how I like to retell that story. And then I looked up at Laura and I was like, right, I'll just say it. I was like, bloody hell, she's absolutely gorgeous. So I like almost scuba dived off the back of my seat, pulling out your seat, almost fell off the seat. I was like, yes, you can sit here. And then I was just reflecting like left and right of me. I was like, man, Cambridge students are actually really sexy. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. I remember being really shocked.
Yeah, I
was,
actually
like,
think
buzzing.
you actually gave up your own seat and moved over one.
Yeah, sounds about right. I know I moved quickly. I can't remember the shuffle. But anyway, so I was like, oh, this is great. Anyway, so from that point, we were kind of inseparable, really, weren't we? I think I spent every single day, at least at some point, I was with Jack for a year solid.
Yeah, and same. I think
and same for you.
Us, yeah.
And we were just a trio, a really tight trio that didn't leave each other's side for a whole year. That was the best and somehow also the worst year of my life, but definitely the best.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of, but like obviously tinged with real sadness. Like when I go back to Cambridge now, it's so beautiful, but there's always like a shadow there.
Yeah, definitely.
But what did before we go into all of that, what did your Cambridge rugby girls call us?
Yeah, I was actually about to to cover this, because this is just a good, quick way to summarize how our relationship was seen, I guess, viewed by others. The three of us were inseparable, best mates, and I was playing rugby at the time for the Cambridge.
Playing rugby very well, may I add. Winger, rapid.
Thank you.
Welcome.
For the Cambridge women's team. And Lou and Jack were really great supporters. So take note, anyone listening, because they were amazing support, friends,
Big
fans.
up Krufka women.
Big up
one time.
Krufka women, yeah. And they would come to every game. They would come often to training. So they were really dedicated.
Dedicated supporters and pint drinkers.
Yeah, dedicated supporters and excellent drinkers of Guinness to support.
Thank you.
And my rugby team's nickname for them was the Spaniels. They used
Laura's
to say,
Spaniels.
look, here's Laura and the Spaniels arriving.
Because we were just following you in tow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the nickname.
Yeah, I love that. It's true, though. It is absolutely bang on. I remember hearing it for the first time being like, but I wasn't actually annoyed.
Yeah.
So
the Spaniels.
It was an amazing friendship. Quite a unique one in terms of setup. It's just like, you know, it made sense once you met us, but we had so many similarities, didn't we? And similar things that we loved.
Yeah. And way of looking at the world, I think.
That's a really important one, actually. Like, we viewed the world in a really similar way, but there were some key differences or certainly strengths of each of us. And we would challenge each other, I think, as a three in such a fierce but like accepting way. Jack was brilliant at that. He would call you out straight away on something that you didn't quite get right, and then unpack why you didn't get it right.
Yeah.
And then allow you space to come back.
Yeah.
A little bit of space. You had to be sharp.
Yeah,
if you didn't get in that space, not much space. You had to get back pretty quick to match him in an argument. He was pretty fierce in that realm.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think we all had various blazing rows with one another.
Yeah.
But always the best of friends. So.
Yeah. And so I guess, logical place to end that part of the journey is graduation, which was a beautiful day, wasn't it? All our parents came up together. So my parents came up from Cornwall. Jack's obviously were just outside of Cambridge, where he grew up.
Yeah.
The others came up from Surrey.
Yeah.
And they all got on like a house on fire, didn't they, all the parents?
They did, yeah. Like they'd known each other forever.
Yeah, it was lovely.
And they'll definitely be listening, so we better give them a little shout out as well.
Yeah. Big up our parents, Sharon and Ken. They're mine. What are yours called?
Bridget and Chris.
Nice.
Yeah. And of course, Anne and Dave.
And of course, Anne and Dave, Jack's parents, who are absolute legends, aren't they?
We love you so much, guys.
Yeah, we do. So should we talk about early career post?
Yeah, so I guess, people often ask us the sequence of this, don't they? So we graduated from Cambridge and we all went off our separate ways. You went back to Bristol, I went to London, and Jack stayed in Cambridge, and Jack was working for Learning Together, which is the organisation we'd all been part of on our during our master's year, which was learning together, literally as it says, with students in prison in higher education. So the best lecturers, topics, they would come in to prison. We were at H&P Grendon every week, and we would do a lecture and a group project there with them, which was absolutely incredible. And we maybe should dwell a little bit on that actually before we move.
Yeah, I mean, that was an incredible experience. I almost didn't sign up to Learning Together. Like the last minute, I don't know why I put it off, but it was incredible. It's about 12 weeks, wasn't it? Every Friday we'd get a bus from Cambridge to Oxfordshire. Boo. No, I'm joking. Just the Cambridge-Oxford rivalry there, which is so stupid. Maybe we'll talk about it at some other point. And went into HB Grendon. And I always remember we got there and the prison officer came onto the bus and he was like, "You're going to meet some really scary folk in there," and gave this big spiel. And I was already quite nervous. He went, "Nah, I'm just joking. You'll be all right." I was like, I cannot believe that.
Yeah, I remember.
Do you remember that?
Yeah,
it's always
I remember
stuck with
that.
me. Absolute
Great
joker.
guy. What was his name?
I forgot.
If you remember that and you know who you are, officer at HEP Grendon.
I bet he'll be known there, won't he?
2016, 17. Come find us.
Yeah. And anyway, I mean, just being in the prison space for the first time and meeting these men who really weren't, they were mostly 10 to 20 years through a really long sentence. So have done, committed some of the most serious crimes. But we're certainly a long way through their rehabilitation or journey through the system. And HB Grendon is a brilliant place, and one for maybe another episode we could do on that. But they were just not too different to me. I really resonated with that they came from kind of rubbish towns, and I'm from a pretty rubbish town. Like I say rubbish, I mean, impoverished town with not much opportunity. And the reason, or one of the main reason why I didn't end up where they are, not that I was particularly close, but I had an amazing support network around me, and they didn't. So once they started to fall, they continued to fall, and ended up at the most extreme end, committing, obviously really serious crimes and impacting so many lives in the process. But the similarity has always stayed with me, that I was like, we could have been friends. I mean, we are friends, in fact, with a lot of them in another life,
Definitely agree. And and Jack, after we graduated, carried on working with Learning Together. Yeah,
he was running the Butler Law course in H&P Whitemoor.
And Warren Hill.
Warren Hill. So where are we, career-wise? So he was staying on doing that. We went to government.
Yes.
We went to the civil service.
You followed me there.
Well, we
should actually add that we weren't actually in a relationship for any of this time.
Oh yeah. That's coming. It's one of my. It's coming in the chronology.
Okay. Right.
So we weren't in a relationship at this point. I think I wanted to be in a relationship pretty much from day one. But obviously I was keeping it cool and being like, Lewis, you can have hot friends. Don't be weird. Don't be weird. So that was still going on in my head.
Actually, I hadn't noticed too much.
You hadn't noticed. You didn't notice any of that. Like loads of the boys, like I guess young men at that point, but boys really fancied you, and you just didn't have any clue. And I do actually believe that.
Yeah, but I feel like this is such a segue on our professional podcast.
Yeah, sorry. Right. Back to the professionalism. Career. civil service. So I went back to Bristol actually briefly. I ended up working in a bar for a few months because it was just in between. And I was like, what the hell am I doing? I've just finished Cambridge. I just got a Cambridge master's degree, which is like insane. Never expected to be there. And now I'm working in a bar. But whatever, we got back. What was your first apartment that you went into in civil service?
Home office.
Home office.
Baptism. Yeah.
Baptism of fire, the Home Office.
Yeah, it's amazing. Heart of the toughest stuff in government. It really is.
Yeah.
People work incredibly hard there, but it's a huge department.
Massive, isn't
it? Always is a challenge, covering such a broad range of things, from immigration to national security to policing to violence against women and girls. So it's absolutely massive.
I guess what's important here to say, Laura applied for the fast stream, and Laura is very smart. So she absolutely got on the fast stream. Excuse me. And I tried to get on the fast stream as well and didn't get on the fast stream.
I shouldn't laugh at that.
That's actually so mean.
I don't know why I'm laughing.
No, that's fair enough. Didn't get on it, which Laura finds hilarious now. Didn't know that.
No, it's not that I find it funny. I just find it sweet, I guess.
Yeah, anyway, so Laura got on through the fast stream, was flying already in her junior career. I didn't get on. I was like, oh, for God's sake, what am I going to do now? And I got into government through this thing called the direct appointment scheme at the kind of a really junior grade. And my first department was the Department of Health and Social Care. And the first area I worked on was in GP indemnity. So GPs as in doctors' insurance, which sounds boring. It was actually fascinating, but again, one for another day. So yeah, that was my start. And then we both ended up in the Ministry of Justice for a long time, which is obviously where we wanted to be. Obviously, you had a few skip around other departments, didn't you? Yeah. And actually, I mean, we didn't move to the Ministry of Justice until after Fishmongers Hall. True. So I've skipped forward there, haven't I? So yeah. I mean, I guess we could just talk about that now. I guess it's kind of sandwiched in, kind of the crux of all of this in a way. Yes, I mean, we were all still extremely close and spending huge amounts of time together. And Jack was running the law course for Learning Together and doing lots of other work there. And we were so inspired by him. You know, we were both then working in government based in London, and I went to see him a few months before the Fishmongers Hall incident at Warren Hill, and he had really the whole room in the palm of his hand. It was just incredible to watch the power with which he developed something really innovative, first of its kind law course, and that he was just driving that and pioneering it. And he was only 25, which it's crazy. People often forget. And I remember looking at him and thinking, wow, how am I friends with this exceptional and powerful person? Even though I knew that already, but he was really flourishing. So I think I just wanted to share that. That's a really good point. And actually, to expand on that slightly, the way that Jack captured those men in prison, you know, these absolutely huge blokes doing long sentences, you know, they're all seem to all be like 6 foot, but they're all massive because they gym a lot. It's pretty much one of the only, you know, functional things to do in a prison. And he just got their respect instantly. And, you know, I always sort of thought I had that skill in bucket loads to sort of not get people's respect, but to really connect with people quickly. And he, you know, blasted me off the park with that and in how he captured those men, and they respected him so quickly and listened to him like he was some sort of like messiah. It was amazing to watch at such a young age. I mean, we started that, he was 23, wasn't he, when we started Learning Together? So young, the power that he exuded in that space. Yeah, definitely incredible. Unmatched. Definitely unmatched, Jack. Yeah, so I guess the big one, the Fishmongers Hall incident of November 2019. Yeah, and it still really isn't easy to talk about. No. Even now, actually. We don't talk about it together directly that often, really, do we? Not really, no. It comes up in painful separate ways. I mean, obviously, since starting the business, obviously in Jack's name, spout his way, RRT, Merrittocracy. We've been speaking about it more than we have for ever. I think I've spoken about the incident and Jack more in the last 6 months than I have at any point in my life, which is beautiful because I love talking about him. So that's really cool, but hard. But yeah, I mean, should we briefly, I don't know if it has to be briefly, but just go over that, where we were? We were both invited to the Fishmongers Hall incident, or not the incident, the event, sorry, which was a Learning Together event. It's a 5-year anniversary, wasn't it? Something like that. Yeah. Learning Together. Yeah, it was, yeah. And I, weirdly, which I don't do very often, this sort of stuff, but I double booked myself with a holiday in Budapest with a different group of friends, so I couldn't go. Sent my apologies the sort of week before, realising I had flights to Budapest. And
yeah, and I couldn't go either. I was called into work on the morning at the Ministry of Defence, so I booked it off. But we, needed staff on, so I ended up going into work instead. So changed my journey on the morning.
Yeah, which is crazy, isn't it? That like serendipitous or whatever you call it, that kind of split. Yeah. So we were both meant to be there and weren't. And so I got a call. I was in Budapest and it was had a pretty late night. So I went to bed at like 2 or 3 a.m. And then I got up for a wee and my phone was facing up and it just started lighting up. And I was like, oh, what's going on? I was like bleary eyed and it was at 5:30 in the morning. And it was Claudia from our master's course calling me. I hadn't had any missed calls. That was the first call. And my phone was on silent. So if I wasn't up, I wouldn't have seen it, which is kind of weird. I've always thought about that. And yeah, obviously.
Amazing, Claudia. We should just pause.
Yeah, Claudia is amazing. Yeah, one of our colleagues doing brilliant work at the Prison Reform Trust. Brilliant woman. And so she called me, and obviously I heard the attack on BBC News in the day. I was like, oh God, there's another London Bridge attack. Obviously there was one before that as well. And then I heard just before going to bed that like Cambridge students were involved. And I was like, how the hell could that be a thing? I was like, were they on a bus on the bridge crossing it? Was it like a tour that they were doing for like freshers or something around London? I couldn't connect the dots, even though I knew the event was on. And anyway, yeah, so Claudia, she just called me up and just said, yeah, Jack's been killed. Which is obviously, even now, God, I just got like goosebumps talking about it. But I mean, there's no words that can describe how that felt. I don't think.
No.
Or how it feels even now at times.
Yeah. And yeah, my experience was slightly different to yours. I was at home, but I had woken up. I think just part of me sort of just knew. And I'd heard stuff going on when I was at work the day before in the Ministry of Defence. Something had happened. There'd been an incident. Obviously, details were kept very, very close. And then I'd woken up in the middle of the night, sort of 2 in the morning, and I sort of, something in my brain must have put the fragments of information that I'd heard together, but obviously no names had been said, but I realised, I think I linked up the place and time. So then I just started to panic and was trying to phone everybody that I knew and nobody was answering. And I think I tried to phone Jack about 46 times, in fact, I remember. And it was then an hour and a half or so later after that, still around 5 in the morning, that my flatmate at the time got a call from somebody else and came in. They wanted somebody to let me know in person rather than to let me know on the phone. So they were sort of waiting. That was why no one was answering my call. They were waiting to contact somebody who could contact me in person and be with me rather than me find out alone. So yeah.
And I think
that's how it happened.
I think before we go into Cambridge, as when you picked me up from the airport, there's a kind of relationship point that comes in slightly before this. So if it was a week before this incident, it was a couple of days, actually maybe in a few days just before I flew to Budapest. So if you go back a week from what we're talking about now, I got to a point in my life where I had to tell Laura that I loved her. And it was just like filling me up with like, I just had to, it was like driving me crazy. So we went for a date, didn't we, in North London?
Yeah, which is the craziest of timings, really.
Yeah.
Just a week before.
Maybe we should have done this bit before this, but anyway, we're going back in time a week. So Jack is still alive at this point. And I just give Laura about a 10-minute monologue in that restaurant. What was it called again? Baba Boom.
Baba Boom, yeah. Yeah.
And had this meal.
Yeah.
I said, Laura, you just need to listen to this. And Laura was just wide-eyed. I remember clear as day, sat on this like banquette.
Bear in mind, from my perspective, like this hadn't actually been sold to me as a date. This was just like a friend's catch up. So that is important context.
Yeah. Important context, friends catching up. And then, I just told her I loved her. She was, sort of went our separate ways. And then, like I said, I went to Budapest. The incident happened that we've just spoken about. Obviously not in great detail. And maybe that'll come up in this pod or later pods. And then I came back from Budapest, obviously got a flight back alone, which was just, God, it was awful. I remember I was at Budapest airport and I had a pint of Asahi, which is key because that was our favourite pint. Jack loved an Asahi as well. He loved Guinness most, but we also used to drink Asahi and they had it on tap. I was like, oh, that's pretty strange beer to have in Budapest, but, had that. And I was just crying my eyes out. And this old couple, they're about 65, didn't speak a word of English, put another pint of Asahi down for me and just like tapped me on the back. I always remember that. It's a really lovely human moment. And
as always, the kindness of strangers does stand out, like even in, so much pain.
Yeah, I think they could feel it. Well, they could see it and probably hear it. And then you picked me up. Is Luton or Stansted? One of the crap airports.
Hopefully they're not listening.
Yeah, probably don't shout them out. That's fine. We can call that. I think that's allowed. I don't think we're going to get cancelled for that. Then,
sorry to everyone that loves Luton. And
yeah, sorry. If you do love those airports, huge apologies. And Laura picked me up and we just obviously cried and hugged each other. And so we were together as a couple from that point, which is the most insane start in the like fiery pits for a relationship of grief and trauma and just dizzying. I don't even know. But that was the start of our relationship in that airport, whichever rubbish one it was.
Yeah, it's crazy, really. It was such a blur. I think it was Stansted.
Great, we got to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if we want to talk about how it was going to Cambridge or...
Yeah, maybe quickly, but
just
I think, just reflecting on like, obviously, for those who might not be so familiar, but Jack died at Fishmongers Hall. He was the first person killed in the terrorist attack by Usman Khan, who was then killed on London Bridge. And countless lives were also saved that day by brave actions of many people who were in that room who had served very long sentences in prison. People like Steve Gallant and Mark Conway and people that we knew really well. And there was so many of our friends and so many people that we loved and respected in that room. I think it's just important to kind of spend a moment with that, of that incident was just, spread around the entire world. And that was because Jack was killed working ultimately for Learning Together, working in prison rehabilitation. And he was killed in that environment that he was working in by Usman, who had been on the Learning Together course. And that was why he was invited that day.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, really important to just spend a moment with that.
Yeah. Perfect. I mean, well done for bringing that to this. You're so right. I mean, we've always kind of said, or how I've sort of pictured it in my mind, is that these men were, society had given up on them. They were, in the gutter essentially. And Jack and Learning Together and organizations like that in prison didn't give up on these people. And, it was like, I've always said, it's like Shakespearean or like biblical that, biting the hand that feeds you, that Jack was in that space helping these people that everyone else had given up on. And it was one of them that took his life. And that's why it was, I think, why it was so brutally sad, but also why it resonated with people so clearly. That's one major part. But the other major part, which is more positive, is that people really understood Jack. They understood what he was doing and they really felt the causes he was fighting for. And that's why his name and his story spread around the world like it did, along with, us writing that Guardian article with Jack's family and Leanne, his girlfriend at the time, which was printed on the front page of the Guardian.
We should take a moment as well before we move on to just note Saskia Jones.
Yeah, I was going to do that,
murdered on Fishmongers Hall that day, and Saskia was a real advocate for better treatment of victims in the criminal justice system. So just want to nod to Saskia as well. Yeah,
a moment for Saskia there, absolutely. And everyone else that was there, that was impacted, and the wider shockwaves of that incident, impacted hundreds, if not thousands of people that day, really fundamentally. And, it's really impacted lots of people in, really damaging ways. But we've worked hard together as a unit, haven't we? We've been pretty close with, we're really close with Anne and Dave, and they're such guiding lights for us, aren't they, through this, like the grief and trauma, how they sort of paved the way, I think, for all of his friends. But I can only talk from my perspective, our perspective, that if they had the ability to behave and act like they did, it allowed us the space to do and act how we did in such a, you're like, no, we are going to breathe some positivity into this and celebrate his life, albeit a short one. But what he achieved in 25 years is more than most people achieve in a very long life.
Yeah, and over 100 for sure.
Yeah, so pretty amazing. So yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a bombshell for listeners if they haven't heard that story before. It's a lot of emotion there, a lot of energy.
Yeah, and Jack would never give up on anyone, right? That was
No.
him. He would fight for anyone who earned his respect and anyone who he thought needed it. And I think, knowing him and having the privilege to know him as our friend is just a gift that I will never ever take for granted.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fundamental. I mean, as you can see, for the meritocracy that we'll talk about a bit more. But there is, I see my life as like it was me before the incident, before Jack and after Jack. And fundamentally, I'm a hugely different person because of that incident and losing, a best friend in such a brutal way that it's taken a huge amount of work. And, we both had lots and lots of therapy and, lots of support from amazing people that just really have held us up at our lowest to get here. And, with launching the meritocracy, I think we both agreed that is not the end of the story. That's not the end. That's the start of this story. And, we said in a poem that we had commissioned, which you can find online and maybe we'll share with the pod, that was written by a good friend of ours called Kat and filmed by her partner Ant. But in that, it says that, it's an old proverb, I think, but that they say that you die twice. You die in your heart with your heart's last stroke, but also the last time your name is uttered. And we were like, when I heard that, I was like, okay, well, we're not going to stop saying his name, and the world will not stop saying his name long before we're gone. Hopefully, after a long life and a successful venture with the meritocracy, that his name will always be spoken.
Yeah, and that's our commitment really to our friend that we. Sorry, I feel quite emotional.
It's all right. Take a moment.
Yeah, it's still really so tough. Even kind of 6 years plus down the line, it doesn't get easier to go back to that place and go back to that time and to think about what we've lost and what the world has lost. And for us, starting the meritocracy was our opportunity to take Jack's legacy, all of that incredible foundation that he laid over his 25 years on the planet, and to do what we can to take that into new spaces, new environments, new people, and never stop advocating and fighting and making a difference and being creative and delivering amazing work in the way that he did. And that's why we did it, right?
Yeah, and all of that we've shared here, that the energy that gives both of us and the foundation that gives the business essentially is so strong and so stable and so fierce that it can't and won't fail, because it, like we said, like on a Sunday we're like buzzing for Monday to come round, because it's like we're doing it with him. We're working in these spaces that he would have been in, and he'd probably be doing this with us if he was here.
Well, we said that to Anne and Dave.
Yeah, it'd probably be
Jack's
three of us
parents.
starting this
It'll
business.
Be the three of us, yeah.
And and he is our third founding member, and we say that a lot.
Do you reckon we'd probably still named it after him? Maybe.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You two would have had to fight it out for that.
Yeah, we would have fought to the death.
The Taylorocracy doesn't quite have the same ring to it, does it?
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And and here we are. Here we are. The meritocracy is here, and we're in amazing spaces, working with amazing people already. And I think the energy back from the world since launch has been overwhelming in the best possible way.
Yeah. Thank you, world. Or thank you to everyone that's responded to us so amazingly since we kicked this off. It's been unreal.
It has been unreal.
Yeah. I thought it might be helpful for us just to recap for everyone listening what we were up to for the 6 years between Fishmongers
Yeah.
Hall that we've just spoken about, and launching the Merrittocracy, which we launched on the 2nd of October this year.
Yeah. I was still actually in the Department of Health and Social Care, and it was just as COVID hit. So it was like a double whammy of like, obviously personal grief and trauma, and like global grief and trauma. And in fact, I remember my therapist saying that it's such a unique thing to happen, that you have that very brutal public media attention incident, and also a global pandemic at the same time to kind of work through. But working in the Department of Health and Social Care at that time was super interesting. I was on the response team to that, and I remember cycling into work. We were still in the office, one of the only teams, I think, and it was 5 a.m. because it was a round-the-clock team. The sun was just rising and the whole of the city was red, and I was the only person I could see from the Houses of Parliament up Victoria Street, down the mall. It was just me. And
It's
just
crazy.
going in.
I remember that time.
It was like, end of days. It was mad.
Yeah, because I was going in at the same time to the Ministry of Defence for similar round-the-clock reasons, and it was just nobody there. It's just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, really eerie. And then, obviously, we mentioned we both went over to the Ministry of Justice for the bulk of the last 6 years.
Yeah, and I would actually just like to clarify that I did start there first.
Yes, I know you love this. Like, that was unfortunate timing. But you were in there, what, about half a year before me?
I just want to clarify that we don't just always try to work together.
Yeah. That is true, actually. We're not just,
Yeah.
But we both obviously wanted to go into the Ministry of Justice from the criminology background.
Yeah.
So that's where we ended up, didn't we? Across multiple teams. But I think we'll do another episode probably in the future on the intricacies of Whitehall and the civil service. I think that'd be quite interesting.
Yeah, too much to
fill in for this intro spiel.
Yeah.
But we're moving on to something a bit more positive now. Not that is, I mean, obviously that was really difficult to sort of talk through, but we're going to talk to you about, we had a little discussion before this about what our favourite memories of Jack were, like the first one that popped into our heads.
Yeah, and I haven't told you mine, but then when you told me yours, they're quite similar, which is really interesting.
Yeah, do you want to start first?
Yeah. So I guess it's really lovely for us to be able to kind of introduce Jack always to some parts of a new audience, and for those of you who knew Jack as well, it's hopefully a really beautiful opportunity to reflect on him and the kind of guy he was. And hopefully this resonates, but I think it's worth just painting a little bit of a picture of Jack. So he's obviously super cool, super handsome, as evidenced. Not that Lewis was ever jealous of that at all.
Nope, not jealous.
Not one bit.
Didn't care.
And he always wore black and white. Like, he was so committed to that he only ever wore monochrome, which was just quite amazing. It was a very distinct part of his personality. He was incredibly clever. He was great at sport. He loved the gym, but he really, really, really loved going out with his mates.
And music.
And
pints.
And drinking pints, yeah. So I just wanted to flag that.
Also, the black and white pint. Black and white dress, black and white pint.
Yeah.
Quite the look.
Yeah, exactly. And he loved going out drinking pints. And I think both of our top favourite memory of him, I think for me, mine is just because it captures him so well, which is that he came round to my room before we were going out for the evening, and he was just sat on the end of my bed just waiting for me to get ready. And I had one of those little student rooms which had a little bathroom attached to it, and I was just getting ready in the mirror, and he put on his favourite pre-going out track, which was Dancing in the Dark, but the Hot Chip version, which still now we love. I just love listening to it. Always reminds me of him. He put that on before every night out, and he was there, crisp white tee, black Dickies trousers, black Doc Martens, like 2 hoop earrings, the look, always the same look. And he was just, I caught a glimpse of him when I was looking back at him when I was looking in the mirror, so kind of reflecting back. And he didn't know I was looking at him, but he was just like absolutely vibing along to Dancing in the Dark, and just having a little like moment dancing to himself, just getting ready with the excitement of going out for the evening. And it's such a small memory, but I love it because it's just, if I want to kind of reflect on him and the person he was, it's just the image I go to in my head all the time. So that's mine. Yeah,
that's really beautiful. I can see him grooving along to that. Just little low fist bump.
Yeah.
Shimmying away.
Yeah, definitely. There was a shimmy. You got it back.
He shimmied. Mine is, we went to a night out, and I cannot remember for the life of me the DJ that we went to see, but it was a big name for Cambridge to get. They didn't have lots of like touring DJs. Like, so I did my undergrad in Bristol. They had lots of huge DJs, but we went to this big night out. It ended at like 3 a.m. We went back to mine on Parker's Piece, beautiful, huge house that I had for some reason, had a bedroom that was like 20 meters by 20 meters, massive, with a single bed in it. No idea why Cambridge University does that, especially for postgrad students. Anywho, came back, we were in the kitchen, and we were still just like, oh no, we're still just like really excited from the night. And so I got a bottle of whiskey out, and we started playing our favorite tunes. And then we came up with this game that we called Mega Mix, but we started saying it like this: Mega Mix, like it was like a Radio 1 edit or something. And we were only allowed to play 1 minute of the song, and then we had to think on our feet for the next thing. So
yeah, I like it.
It started at 3 a.m. Bottle of whiskey. Bearing in mind we've been out all night. We finished the bottle of whiskey playing this game, and it ended at about 6:30 in the morning. So a minute of songs for 3.5 hours. We just went on this journey of like, yeah, I know this song because, my parents used to play it, or I know this song because it reminds me of and it was just so intense, and yeah, it was brilliant.
Music is amazing for that, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're going to do a music episode, so looking forward to that.
Yeah.
We've been involved with some interesting music and social justice work over the last few weeks, so
yeah,
we're looking forward to sharing that. I think we were going to then have a little check-in about what makes the Merrittocracy unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, we sort of covered a bit of it up top, but like I said, I really think that, the story is unique. The energy and the power that comes with that is really unique. I think that's the main thing, really, along with what we've already spoken about, of that really, I think, or we think, that perfect blend of creative ferocity, that real creative engine room, butting heads with a space that has never really gone anywhere near the creative realms, and is very kind of, A4, legislation, very hard to access, only a few people it really crosses paths with, that we're trying to just be quite vulnerable and open in a way, and be like, no, this is what you need to know about, and creating really beautiful, a lot of beauty in it as well, in what we produce. So it looks like you want to read it draws you in, or it's interactive, or really sort of boundary pushing as to what do you think?
I think we said in the intro, we're the first social justice agency doing what we're doing. I think we bring that unique kind of blend of skills, which is really exciting, and it's worth just pausing on that we want to have a cyclical impact on social justice. We want to be working on problems, bringing solutions, and then, reinvesting, as much as possible. So being purpose-driven, not profit-driven. And I think that's the way the world is going.
Yeah, I agree. And we were chatting around whether to be a charity or a community interest company. And we decided on a limited company for the financial freedom that it gave us. And then also, as Laura, as you mentioned, that cyclical profit model of, funding the real pointy end of those community social elements, be that, food banks and either buying materials for those in need, is something that we are going to do.
Yeah, and we're really committed to prevention of harm, and that's typically been hard to fund. So we wanted to, make sure that we could be one of the organisations that does put funding in that direction, focused on preventing harm before it happens.
Yeah, upstream. Yeah.
I think you were going to ask me this next one.
Yeah.
Because you didn't want to answer it.
Well, it's big, and I think you're going to answer it much better than me. So what are the big social justice trends for 2026?
Yeah, just a small question.
Tiny
question. So I am so excited about this question. I really wanted to have it in because I think 2026 is shaping up to be a really transformative year. So we are, believe it or not, this year we'll be coming up to the 2-year anniversary of the current government, and that kind of mid-term moment is a big moment for legislation. Lots of legislation that's already been passed. We're going to start seeing the impact of that now this year. So, for example, the Employment Rights Bill, which I think has the power to be extremely transformative, will actually come into force on the 1st of April this year. So we haven't kind of seen the power of that yet because it hasn't been enforced. Mm-hmm. So that is huge. I think also the implications of AI and technology, we're hearing it everywhere, but it's not going anywhere. It's not slowing down. If anything, it's rocket launching this year. Mm-hmm. The ways in which technology can be misused, but also positively used for good, I think we're only just scratching the surface on, and I expect this year will just be really transformative for social justice in that way. And we've mentioned prevention, and I really think that 2026 there will really be a reckoning when it comes to needing to prevent harm before it happens. And we spend a lot of time thinking, writing, working on violence against women and girls. And I think 2026 there will be even more focus on prevention. Certainly all of the strategies are pointing in that direction, and focus on masculinity, focus on tackling the source of harm, directly, rather than kind of, expecting to be able to respond out of a crisis, but we need to allow for prevention and response to run alongside one another. So those are probably my top three, but I do feel really optimistic for this year. I think there is a lot of factors coming together in social justice around legislation, commitment, technology that's going to make it a really exciting year. And I'm looking forward to seeing where we are this time next year.
Amazing. Great answer. Yeah, I mean, loads to focus on there, isn't there? I mean, I'm really starting to feel that as well. I mean, I'm nowhere near as expert as Laura is in a lot of these areas, especially in the violence against women and girls space, which is, Laura is a real expert in that. But even with coming from that kind of wider government experience that I've got, seeing the eyes on this stuff for the first time properly and the energy around it is amazing, and it is a real shift. And hopefully, more to that. And if we can be a small cog in letting people know that this stuff is out there and really shouting from the rooftops, then we will do that.
Yeah. Should we go quick fire?
Yeah, we got some quick fire.
You got one sentence per one of these.
Okay, really? Yeah. That quick?
Yeah, real quick.
Crumbs. Okay, I'll go first. What was your biggest delusion before starting the Merrittocracy? We had many. I'm quite delusional. I need to keep this. I need to keep this one short. Mine was definitely time. I think I thought that somehow I'd get more time than the requisite 7 days a week that we get, and that I would have loads of time to be able to do stuff. That's your one line. That's all you get.
That's all I get.
Time done. Okay. Next one.
What surprised you the most?
The amount of attention and energy from sectors I didn't know we would overlap with since launch. That was good, right? That was one line.
Well done.
Okay. What's your business confession?
I really wanted to ask you this. I thought it was a good chance to get some dirt out in case there's anything you've been hiding.
Soz.
Business confession.
I think you're pretty by the book, straight-laced. I'll answer it if you want.
Yeah.
I feel like with owning your own business, running your own business, with someone like me, Laura doesn't have this problem, but when time is all in your hands, it can drift away a bit, and I could maybe just, in the afternoon, have a coffee, read the paper, read the news, and then maybe have a 2-hour lunch break. That is probably my confession, whilst Laura's just grafting in the office, which is also in our house. So there you go. That's my confession.
Fab.
Long lunch breaks. But, come on, treat yourself.
Bring back lunch. I think that's your slogan.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do as well. Yeah, bring back lunches. Because business lunches used to be really cool. And everyone was doing them. But I think they went a little bit too awry. And it was the banking boys that ruined this for everyone. And girls. But mainly the boys. That were having 4-hour lunches 3 times a week.
Yeah, 2 is very reasonable.
Do you know what I mean? And then not doing any business deals. Just having £1,000 lunch in the city. I'm not saying that. Just nice lunches where we get stuff done.
Yeah, a side mission.
That was a side quest. Where are we? So what would you do differently if you were to roll back time? That's a tough one.
Really tough one. I always say to you, I wish we'd started sooner. But actually, it's hard, isn't it? Because you start when you're ready. Yeah. So that's my one line.
And I've always pushed back on that. I said, I don't think we could have started sooner because we started when it was ready, universally. We were ready as individuals. We'd done the work. We'd experienced the private sector, public sector. I'd started another business, taken all those lessons together to really understand how to position ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. What have you been doing outside of work this week to keep you sane?
We went to the cinema for the first time in a while. Went to watch Hamnet. Holy mackerel. Take tissues.
Yeah.
What a film. That blew my mind.
High emotion.
I was knackered after that.
Yeah.
I recommend. Go and watch it. It is stunning. Cinema. I game a lot as well. I'm playing Ark Raiders. For those of you in the know, probably will lose most people there. But hell of a game. Okay, so if your work personality was an animal, what would it be?
So I have a really personal response on this one, which is that I think it would be a cockroach crossed with crossed with a desert rat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Survivability.
It's extreme survivability. So like indestructible, locks into mission focus, and like could be considered occasionally unpleasant, but actually really gets stuff done.
Does get stuff done.
Gets the job done. You just can't get rid of them.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I'm
Tenacity.
Tenacity.
Tenacious like a cockroach.
I'm tenacious like a cockroach, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And then I think it's just how the hell do we work with each other?
We're going I mean, we're going to have to do another full episode on that particular point, but I think working together, this is going to be longer than one line, Soz. Working together as husband and wife, from my perspective, has been amazing, truly. It has meant that we have had to communicate in ways that we thought I thought our communication was already pretty solid, and it is. It's a whole new ball game. You've got to strip away. I've had to strip away loads of like pre-imagined things. And Laura's the MD, and there is a hierarchy in between us. That final call is with Laura, and we agreed on that before. And yeah, I mean, I've had to sort of like strip away kind of a bit of ego, a bit of that kind of. I'm not like that sort of guy, but that kind of macho elements that I still had very deep in me, that I was like, no, are you responding as a colleague and a husband here, or is this coming from a deeper place? So just communication has had to be like NASA level.
Yeah, and we actually wrote a contract to each other, didn't we?
Oh yeah, we did write a contract. Yeah. Should we read that out quickly?
Yeah, we've got it with us.
We've got it with us. We've got our amazing production team. It's just up there, Lois. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Should I read it out, or do you want to read it out?
Yeah, we can just summarize, I reckon.
Okay. Yeah, so if you're watching on YouTube, this is our contract that we wrote for each other. We did this over an afternoon in the garden.
And we have it framed in our house.
We have it framed in our house. I think let's just read it. It won't take long.
Okay.
The relationship before the business. Point 2. Treat each other with the professionalism of colleagues and the kindness of best friends. 3.
I don't know why I find your reading voice funny, but carry on.
This is astute. 3. Clear communication always, as I just said. 4. What does that say? Number 4?
Oh my goodness. Bring worries to the table as early as possible. Number 5, dedicated relationship time. 6, allow each other space for mistakes and bad days. And number 7 is our love got us here. That's nice, isn't it?
That's cute.
That's nice.
Really cute.
Yeah.
So there's our contract. I'll pop that down there.
And we do quite often come back to that.
Yeah, we do, when we're maybe being a bit tetchy to each other.
Yeah.
We're like, remember the contract?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I think that basically wraps us up, doesn't it, for episode 1?
That wraps us.
We've got, what I've got here, it says a little outro.
Outro.
So I think you're meant to say that, aren't you, at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our production team are panicking in the background.
Don't say outro.
Don't say outro. Next episode, we're going to be exploring the inner workings of the UK prison system. We've got a very exciting guest joining us. It's somebody I've collaborated with and worked with, and we both have for a number of years. They're very funny. They've written a best-selling book. And we are really excited to have them on and talk all things prison and social justice. Definitely expect the unexpected for that one. We've got no idea how it's going to go. And
Wild card.
Definitely a wild card. And a massive thank you to Onwards and Upwards, whose space we're in today, for the use of their brand new Exo Barbers hub in Blackfriars.
And bike shop.
I was getting to that.
Oh, sorry.
We're massive fans of the EXO team. They do incredible pioneering work supporting people in prison and who've just left prison into employment. They have the EXO bike workshop out front, so you can come one-stop shop, get a haircut and bike servicing all in one go, which is super cool, and it's really beautiful in this space. It's definitely kind of funky apartment meets Soho loft meets, lovely members club. So the EXO team have nailed it, and we love them and we think they're awesome. So thank you for letting us be here today.
Great. Yeah. And also to the listeners, hopefully we've got this done by the time this goes out, but there'll be our original soundtrack, which was created by 2 of my very good friends, my best friend, Dan Garwood, and our fellow friend, Ollie Drummond. And I also want to give a huge thank you to Rustic Studios, who are behind the camera here, and their professionalism. And they are a beautiful pair, and also a husband and wife business duo. So maybe we'll get them in front of the camera at some point.
We love you, Rustic.
They're like, probably not, guys. We'll stay behind. But they're absolutely amazing and brilliant at what they do. So get hold of Rustic Studios for all of your needs in this realm.
See you next time.
See you next time.